welcome back to my channel. So in today's episode I'm going to be interviewing Michael Howard, who is a very successful business owner, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Michael. And firstly, I really appreciate your time.
Welcome, man.
I welcomed you on my Nightly's Roundtable, which was a big success, where you shared a huge amount of knowledge, a huge amount of experience, and what I like to call the reality of what it takes to do very well in business, which we're going to dive into today. So really, really appreciate you spending the time and being able to share all of this.
You are very welcome. So, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just to start, Michael, for anyone that doesn't know you, you had an amazing podcast on Cloutology where you heard such an amazing backstory of where, not the best starts, but to where you are now and the hard graft that's gone in between. And that's what I really, really relate to and really like, and I know a lot of other people will. So just that 30,000 view overview, very brief, to where you started to where you are now.
So it's interesting you said not the best start, but do you know what? I reckon not the best start could actually be the best start. I think that's the challenge, isn't it? It's this sort of, how do we become successful? Is it towards pleasure, like to get all the nice stuff that we want, the travel, the cars, the houses, or is it away from pain? And for me it was away from pain, but I think that's easier than towards pleasure. I've got 4 kids who live a very nice life. They don't have the pain that I had and grew up where I grew up, so they're going to have to find a way of getting that motivation to be whatever successful means to them. It means obviously different things to different people. But in a summary, I came from a very difficult upbringing, and it was one of those things where if something in the house broke, it was done. It was gone. I mean, the curtains fell down and we didn't have curtains. Yeah. So you live actually in fear, because you are brought up that if something's broken, it's done with. And it probably took me most of my life to sort of get over it. You're always frightened of stuff being broken in case you never get it again. Yeah. So my father died when I was 17, and I got kicked out. I was living with him at the time, and I got kicked out. I was basically homeless for, lucky enough, for a very short period of time, but that was my motivation. I didn't even know I was motivated. I wasn't like, right, I'm going to change the world. I mean, I need to eat. Yeah. I need to go and survive and work everything out, which was pretty difficult. At 17, I think a lot of people think they know it all, but you sort of, nothing really at 17. I definitely knew nothing. So my motivation was basic. I needed to eat. I needed somewhere to stay. And I got lots of jobs. I had a job in a supermarket, stacking shelves. I did all sorts of jobs. But luckily for me, one of those jobs was cold calling for double glazing. And at the time, double glazing was huge. Yeah. And I got a job ringing people at home, flogging appointments for double glazing. It was a terrible job. I didn't enjoy it at all. But it paid quite well. And that allowed me then to get the job with the company I now own, because I was the only person that went for the interview that actually had ever done it. Yeah. But my motivation has always been away from pain. It's always been for survival, to get through it. So there's never been a glamorous goal of, amazing cars and holidays and travel, ever. It's more about getting through it, and also to be. When I was in my mid-20s, I got self-education. I was very lucky. I found, but just luck. Luck came my way. But you make your own luck and all that stuff they say. But someone gave me a book, and it was a Tony Robbins book. I think that was luck, yeah. but I read it. Yeah. That wasn't luck. Yeah. Maybe luckily how I was wired, I was desperate. So I was desperate to read a book. And I read it and I was like, what? Personal development? I didn't even know what it was. Self-development? Yeah. I was brought up, if you don't get any GCSEs, you'll never be anyone. Yeah. That's what we were taught. Yeah. So I believed it. I mean, if you're brought up your whole life, if you don't get qualifications, you'll never get a job, you believe it. Yeah. When you're younger. Obviously it's not true, but so I spent my whole life believing all that stuff, and then you'd read these books like you can do anything, like really sure.
Yeah.
And then seminars and books and CDs. So I educated myself.
Yeah.
I worked extremely hard on myself for a long, long time. I work less hard on myself today, being brutally honest, than I did, but probably worked hard on myself for, 25 years. I mean, not a few years, a lot. And I was brutally hard. So yeah, I think that was, and it was out of not wanting to be broke and not wanting to have that misery of any. You just, if you're broke, it's tough. It's hard. And we were proper broke. I mean, I didn't have my hand out on the street, but we had no money. It was tough.
That's one of the reasons, and to the audience listening, that is one of the reasons why I specifically wanted to interview you, because of your background and where you came from. I really like the way that you hold on to this humble beginning, and ultimately that has been your success, from seeing what you do not want for your future and for your children, and that's massively motivating for me, and I know that will be really motivating for many others. And going into business, the ups, the downs, but taking into consideration where we are in the economy at the moment, everything that's been highlighted through COVID, for people watching this who are young entrepreneurs or wherever they are in their journey, and they're thinking, I have this fire, I want more, I don't come from good beginnings, or wherever they are. Now that we've seen this huge change where a lot of businesses have had to adapt, there's a lot of online opportunities. Where do you see business now going, in the sense of, are things more online, and where does someone start if they're thinking, right, I have this fire, I want to do something with it, but I'm confused because there are so many options at the moment?
Okay. Well, I think first thing is that everyone has to adapt anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how the planet, that's how the world is. If you're not always changing, adapting and growing and moving, then that's sort of a mistake anyway. What COVID has done, it's sort of compressed that into a very, if you look at all these shops that have gone bust, I mean, like Debenhams is a great example. I mean, Debenhams have been going bust for 10 years and they went bust during COVID. And, maybe they said, oh, it was COVID. Well, it wasn't. It probably was. I mean, maybe it was a contributing factor, but, it's compressed everything. So, but a lot of businesses have done phenomenally well. And those are businesses that were already adapting, that all didn't rely on everyone going to one shop or two shops. They had a great online presence, or they did it in a different way, or they built up a huge amount of fans. And better to have 100 people that that you can do business with than 1,000 people that you've done business with but you don't know who they are. I mean, I think that's an old saying. I didn't make that one up. I think I heard that one, but I think that's true. So in a way, on one level, I think it changes everything, but on another level, it changes nothing, because and it was probably always going to happen. The way that we live and the way that we eat and do it, there was always going to be something like this at some point. I mean, I didn't ever think it'd be in my lifetime, but it's always something that's going to come along. And it's been huge. I mean, it's devastating for people that have obviously died of a family. I mean, it's been massive. But in terms of business, it reinforces the fact that we have to always be constantly adapting and evolving our businesses anyway. If we never got a lesson, this was the lesson. If we weren't listening before, this was it. A lot of companies gave up, though. A lot of people just literally, shut the restaurant, closed up, and said, put everyone on furlough, and I'll sit at home. And a lot of people figured it out. They said, okay, what can I do? Can I do a takeaway? Can I do a delivery? And those businesses, I think, are the ones that will come out of this, because they've got a more loyal following. They've continued to innovate, to make it work. So I think a lot of good also on business would have come out, as well as all the horrific stuff. So I think the last part of your question was, for those people wanting to start out that's got a great idea or a product or a way of doing stuff, I don't think this changes that at all. I think you just crack on and do it. But with everything, you have to have a great idea is fine, but at the end of the day, a business has to make money. We have to have business that can make a profit. And therefore your business plan, which sounds very boring, but your numbers, how the whole thing works, you have to know it. It has to be workable. You can't just hope that if you get 10,000 Instagram followers, it's going to work. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that either, or that wouldn't be important, but your business has got to work on the basis that you've got to offer a service or a product, or you've got to do something, and you've got to be able to make money on it, and you've got to be able to find the people that want to buy it. I mean, just the real basics have got to be in place.
Do you think too many people, when they want to start something, they start it for the wrong reasons, or they don't, like you're saying, like I imagine it as a funnel. You start with this big base layer of excitement and drive and everything like that, but you don't know where your point is. And if you don't know where your point is, you're just roaming about, really honing in on going, right, I'm doing it for this reason, with an outcome of profit of a business, knowing why you're doing it.
I think that a business has to make money. A lot of businesses want to make a difference to the world, which is fantastic, but they still you can't make a difference if you're not in business. So if people's vision is, I want to make a difference in the health sector, in the whatever sector it is, well, if you don't make any money, you won't be able to make a difference. So it sort of goes hand in hand. So you've got to figure out how to run your business to be profitable. Yeah. And I think the idea itself isn't enough. Just to have a great product. I mean, McDonald's do not make the best food in the world, but they are probably the largest. I'm not saying I'm a fan, but they are the largest fast food company in the world. Yeah. But if I eat their food, I don't go, oh my God, that was the best burger and chips I've ever had. It isn't. Yeah. So it's not always the actual product, how you market that product and what you do with that product, and there's so much more to it than just having a great idea or a great product. A shop in a cul-de-sac that no one walks by is hopeless. Yeah. You've got to be on the high street, you've got to be there. Yeah. And retail is a great example. In the old days, go back 25, 30 years, everyone would go shopping. Yeah. That everyone would leave their house, they'd walk or drive, and they'd go to the high street. Everything was sort of there that you had to go. Even when supermarkets were around, people would go to the high street. If you had a shop on the high street in a decent location with reasonable product, you were always going to be okay, because your audience was outside your door. Yeah. Well, that ain't happening anymore. High streets have been decimated. But look at retail. Is a shop today the same as it was 20 years ago? It's about the same. About the same. 20 years ago, you take your product up and they put in your $24.99, $20.99, ding, and they slide a thing over your credit card because they didn't have that. And now it's beep. That's the difference. Great, and fine. So it's a bit of, but the shop's the same. When did a shop ever get your details in a good way and work? The shops have failed because they haven't changed. They haven't innovated. They're all online. Well, that's just like having a shop online, which is great. Yeah. But if you've got shops all over the high street, everyone's going bust. Everyone is going bust because they haven't changed. If you go into your average men's clothes, I'm not going to name any names, average men's clothes shop, what's it like? Yeah. Hi, how are you? Great to see you. It's not like that. It's, right, can I help you? A load of people sort of gossiping around the till, just like it was 20 years ago. But 20 years ago, the shop was full of people, and now there's no one there. Yeah. Now, if you go and buy a shirt in a shop, and you realise that you're a 15 and a half, you think, buy it online now, can't I? Why am I going to go all the way back? So, old-fashioned service is actually what's going to happen. You're going to want to go to a men's clothes shop where they look after you and they take care of you and they know what you like. I've got something you'll like. Have a look at it. And you go, I want to go. I know I can order online, but I get served and looked after. So actually, I think there's the old-fashioned way of doing retail. If that comes back, if the people that get that, I think, will be hugely successful. Because in most shops, you're basically self-service. And if you're self-service, order online. I went out recently to buy a coffee machine. And these coffee machines, like this big. And I looked at it and I thought, if I buy that, I've got to get it to my car. How am I going? Would it even fit? I can't park the car outside. All the high streets got yellow lines. I took a photo and I put it on Amazon, and they delivered it the next day. Why didn't the shop say, if you want this, we can take it to your car, can deliver it to your house? I'd be like, do you know what? That's easier than me taking the photo and going to Amazon. I'll have it. Can you put it in my car, or can you deliver it? So they're not thinking, so they can't compete. No one can compete with Amazon. But yet if they introduced a different level of service and advice, maybe there's a way.
So there's two takeaways there that for me it's about the customer experience. Starting a business, whatever business you go into, it's about serving that customer well, being different from the competition, and also about, I think it's such a huge part now, is the marketing of it, getting your brand out there and being the face of the brand. Because I think where, like you say, there are big companies that are getting washed to the back because other companies are now going out their way to serve their customers, which ultimately they're winning and others are losing out. So there's two massive takeaways there. So moving on to a slightly different question around that is, in your build up to your business and everything sort of you've been able to achieve, something that is talked about quite a lot recently is who you're surrounding yourself with. So your circle of five or your network, other business owners, mentors. How has who you surround yourself with, and if you can give us a bit of an insight to who are you actually surrounded by that help elevate you and promote you?
Well, surrounded with good people. It's at different levels of good people, because you sort of want people, I think, that you don't want too many yes people.
Yeah. And
obviously, the more successful you get a lot more yes people around. And equally, you don't want sort of no people. I mean, that you don't want people that are just like a nightmare to be with. But also, you don't want people that just agree with everything, because then you feel like you're on your own. So you want to be challenged, but not for the sake of being challenged. So finding, the more successful you become, the more difficult it is to find more people, because actually, I think a lot of people think that there's a race to be successful, and everyone wants it, but in reality, no one wants it. Most people are very happy just doing a job and just hanging out. That's the truth. So actually, being successful, if you're willing to work hard and you're willing to work and come up with a great plan and is actually probably easier than people think. But then the people that often, want to do it, they sort of want to, do it in a year. Well, that's pretty unlikely. And there's lots of people out there that have become hugely successful quite quickly, but they're the exception. I mean, at one point, wasn't Mo Farah the fastest sprinter, maybe, or I don't know. Well, it doesn't mean to say you or I can. It's great to have inspiration. It's great to see people, what is possible, but not everyone's going to be Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, it's just not going. It's unlikely to happen. What are the odds? There's 7 billion people, and who's going to be? People are comparing themselves with Bill Gates and Zuckerberg and Warren Buffett. Well, they're the group of 8-10 people out of 7 billion. It's sort of almost not worth it.
How would you say that you could go about if someone was wanting to, on more of a, let's say someone wants to achieve very similar to another business, or someone who's done very well, how can they get themselves around those people? What's worked for you? How have you been around other business owners that have done well that you can take from?
I'm being honest, it's difficult.
Yeah.
And I tell you why, because for me, I don't want false friendships or relationships in business or in anywhere. So I want to be around with people I like, and I enjoy being with who I respect. So just sort of eking out people to help you climb the ladder, it's not what I do. I'm not saying you shouldn't or do. It's not what I've done. I've mainly done it on my own, and I've used seminars I've been to, and the books, all the stuff that I've studied and read, and all the stuff that I've worked on, working on myself. What's the saying? Work on your job, you earn a living. Work on yourself, you make a fortune. I think Jim Rohn said that. But I do have a a bunch of great people that I'm friends with that are very successful in business. And we all have a similarity. An entrepreneur is sort of similar. They all think in a similar way. So it's nice to be around people who are similar, but most entrepreneurs are quite challenging, and that's a good thing for another entrepreneur. But I think whatever you do along those lines is that it has to be genuine and it has to be real. Otherwise, people will sort of see through you that you sort of muscled in, like I'm more successful than you, and all of a sudden you want to be my best friend, and it's more giving than taking. Yeah. What can we do for others, whether they're less fortunate or more fortunate? What can we do? So I'd have a different mindset about it. It would be much more about more coming to contribute than to take.
I like that. That's very similar to the way that I work. I'm very much, although I've got a really good network, I'm surrounded by very good people, is that in the sense that I still am very much self-educated. I love my education, my own drive, so I'm very much similar on that. So that's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Michael. So moving on, being proud of your achievements and where it's got you now, and running a multi-million pound business, what are the highs and lows of that? What do you, I suppose we spoke about it on the round table. One thing I liked what you said is that it's put you in a position where you don't have to take rubbish. You can you choose your own lifestyle, which I love, and I suppose I just want you to, if you can, share the pros and also not necessarily the cons, but also the responsibility that it's got. Everyone wants to be a millionaire, everyone wants to be running a multi-million pound, which is great, but it's all glitz and glamour. It's not, is it?
Oh, wouldn't it be great if it was easy and full of glitz and glamour? I mean, it isn't. No, I mean it's just not like that. I mean, the problem is that we see all these programs on TV and on social media and make it look easy and all of that. It isn't. It's hard work, and you have the responsibility of running a business, all the people that work for you and all your customers, your clients. There's a lot to it. So you live in. Well, I do. Maybe I do it wrong. I mean, maybe I'm not good at it. But you live in constant. You're always stressed, being honest. But you just get used to managing it. So you get good, or sometimes not so good, at dealing with it and managing how it works. But what was the question?
What's the So what perks have you taken from running a multi-million?
There's nothing wrong with anything that people want to do. So if it's watches and cars and nice clothes or holiday, all fine. But I guess as you grow up, you can see past a lot of that. Yeah. And I'm not saying someone shouldn't drive a nice car or have a nice watch or clothes or holiday. I'm not saying that, but the marketing and advertising of all of that is that it makes you happy. I've got bad news. It just doesn't. It's like a warmer bath. It goes cold really quick. I think there's a difference between pleasure and happiness. Pleasure is a very short-lived thing, and happiness is more constant. And I think that everyone really deep down, although they may not know it, is really searching for happiness somewhere. Yeah. What being successful financially will do is it will fix many things. If you want to fly in business class or first class, it's nicer than flying at the back of the plane. It just is. Are you happier though? I don't know. Yeah. Plenty of people. I mean, I was in Thailand a few years ago, and you see these little family on the street, making the food. I mean, happiest children, wonderful, and they have nothing. So I don't think money is worth chasing if you think that it will make you happy. And that I would say money doesn't buy happiness. Well, it's not meant to. Money isn't meant to make you happy. It's a way of getting stuff fixed or done or buying stuff. It's not designed for happiness. It's a little bit like saying, well, food won't make you look good. Well, it's not designed to make you look good. You eat it. You need it. So I think it's understanding the purpose of money. Will it make you happy? Well, put it this way: being broke probably will make you miserable because it's hard. Yeah. So, when you're younger, I think you chase all the things that are aspirational, the BMW, the nice, the Rolex, all of the stuff, and I understand that. I was no different. But in reality, I don't think that's what it's about. I think that what being financially successful can do is to allow you to do stuff to make life easier. If something breaks, you can buy a new one.
Yeah.
If someone needs taking care of, you can help them and take care of people. So I think you can use it, you can use the financial side to do lots of good stuff, actually, if you want to. But nothing wrong with having a nice car, nothing wrong with anything. I think it's down to everyone. But I think we are sold this sort of dream that if I had the BMW and the watch and all the nice stuff, or it would all be great. Well, it's not that exciting when you have it all. So you've got to try and look at all the people that have been very successful, and once they get over that bit, I mean, Warren Buffett lives in a house that he's lived there forever and drives a shit car and built, they got over it.
Yeah.
And most people did.
That's what I like about you, is you hold on, just for everyone watching, is that you hold on to this humbleness, where you stay very focused, and money is the vehicle to buying back time, private healthcare, looking after your family, and I like that, because that's ultimately certainly where I would like to be, is that past the buying the luxuries and sort of wanting to showcase it. So that's I really like that about you, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview. And one thing you mentioning about Warren Buffett is I liked it where Jeff Bezos, I can't remember what year it was, but when he was asked, I think I mentioned it before, when he was asked, Jeff, you're worth about 12 billion, what's with the Honda?
Yeah.
It was a
perfectly good car.
And I think you can really excel and make massive strides when you're very content and humble. The fact that money's not the drive, it's my children, or looking after my family, or living longevity. So I really like that about you. Just coming to a close, Michael, and sort of finishing on the big drive, and this is something I really push, is the power of self-education. About if you want to learn something, what's your sort of final words on, yes, you can pay for a mentor, yes, you can pay on courses. I personally am a big believer in self-education, being surrounded by people who are willing to share information. How important has self-education been to you?
Look, in a nutshell, if you do what everyone else does, you'll get what everyone else gets. I mean, that's if you sort of keep listening to that, that's just, you have to do something different. The average person earns about 30 grand a year. If you want to earn 30 grand a year, you just do what everyone else does, and it's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you want to do substantially better than that financially, or in any other area, you've only got you. There is nothing else. So the only thing to work on is yourself.
Yeah.
So what I used to do, I used to drive a lot. I use my car. Instead of listening to the radio, which is a waste of time, I use my car to educate me, because it's a waste of time. Yeah. Those people that are listening that get the train, if you're on the train for 45 minutes or an hour, or the tube, or whatever you do, you either read the paper like everyone else, listen to music on your smartphone like everyone else, or Audible, download that book, listen in it, make notes. But if you just listen, look, if you listened and did nothing else, it's still better than everyone else.
Yeah.
But the real thing is you have to listen, make notes, and go, what am I going to do with that? What can I do with that? If you don't do anything with it, you're still better than most people who don't bother doing anything, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
You've got to take action. You've got to actually go and implement some stuff and do it. For me, everything is about self-education. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
There's nothing else. And you've got to look at the people that are going to offer up the advice or the education. Are they real? Are they living it? Are they actually doing it? And are they genuine? And if I did some of this stuff, would I get a piece of the action? So for me, you've got to be, to be successful, more successful than the average person, you just got to do different stuff. The average person doesn't listen to stuff on Audible with great teachers, doesn't read, they read novels, and they listen to music. And again, there's nothing wrong with it, but if you want to be, it's like going to the gym. If you want to have muscles, you just have to turn up and do weights.
Work out, yeah.
You've no choice. It just won't happen. Even if you read about the best weights to lift, and you still have to go and lift them.
So thank you so much, Michael, for sharing that. And that was, really pushing on the whole self-education. Michael is living proof that you can do very well if you've got the drive and you're willing to put in the work. And we just touched on it there. It's about the execution. It's all right talking about it, but doing it is the main part. So thanks for everyone for watching. I hope massive value was taken from this. Please do check out this episode. Hopefully in the future, Michael, we might meet again and do something in the future. So thank you, everyone. And again, thanks, Michael. So
Absolute
much.
pleasure. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you.